Welcome to Pollution Control Provisions for Motor Vehicles in India, presented by RAVI MATHUR, Senior Lecturer, Mechanical Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic College, Jodhpur. The Motor Vehicle Act is an act of the Parliament of India which regulates all aspects of road transport vehicles. The Act provides in detail the legislative provisions regarding licensing of drivers, conductors, registration of motor vehicles, control of motor vehicles through permits, special provisions relating to state transport undertakings, traffic regulations, insurance, liabilities, offences and penalties, etc. For exercising the legislative provisions of the Act, the Government of India made the Central Motor Vehicle Act Rules 1989. The important provision related to pollution is covered in the rule number 115, that is emission of smoke, vapor, etc. for motor vehicles. Every motor vehicle other than motorcycles of engine capacity not exceeding 70 cc manufactured prior to the first day of March 1990 shall be maintained in such conditions and shall be so driven so as to comply with the standards prescribed in these rules. On and after 1st October 2004, every motor vehicle operating on petrol, CNG, LPG shall comply with the idling emission standards for carbon and hydrocarbon given in the table below. Carbon monoxide rather. We can see the table for petrol, CNG, LPG driven vehicles. We can see that the first, the second and two and third three-wheelers of 2 and 4 stroke types manufactured on and before 31st March 2000, the carbon monoxide level should be less than equal to 4.5 and hydrocarbon, the N-hexene equivalent particle per minute should be 9000. Similarly, for 2 and 3 wheelers, 2-stroke vehicles manufactured after 31st March 2000, the carbon monoxide level was determined 3.5%, and for hydrocarbon the limit or ppm was decided 6000. Similar provisions were made for 2 and 3 wheelers 4-stroke. Then came the Bharat Stage 2 compliant 4 wheelers, that was only 0.5 carbon monoxide and 750 ppm of hydrocarbons. 4 wheelers then other than Bharat Stage 2, it was 3 and as carbon monoxide and 1500 as ppm of hydrocarbon. The test shall be carried out using the instrument type approved as per the Rule 106 of 3rd of the Central Motor Vehicle Rules 1989, normally called in abbreviation as CMVR, with the vehicle engine fanned up after a run of minimum 15 minutes on a variable course under normal traffic condition. During the test, the vehicle engine shall be running at idling speed and the sampling probe shall be inserted into the vehicle exhaust system to a depth not less than 300 millimeters. In case carbon monoxide and or hydrocarbon emissions values recorded during the test are not within the limits, the testing shall be discontinued and the vehicle owner shall be advised to resubmit the vehicle after repair or service. The idling emissions standards for vehicles when operating on compressed natural gas CNG or liquid petroleum gas LPG are prescribed separately. Smoke density for all diesel driven vehicles shall be as follows: Method of test is free acceleration test for turbocharged engine and naturally aspirated engines. The maximum smoke density given in two parameters. One is light absorption coefficient and another is Martins units. First is 2.45 value and another is 65 value. The free acceleration test shall be carried out using the instrument type approved as per CMVR 116 rule number 3 with the vehicle engine vent up to attain oil temperature of minimum 60 degrees centigrade. During each free acceleration, maximum no load speed reached shall be within bandwidth of plus minus 500 rpm of the average value in respect of three-wheeler vehicles and plus minus 300 rpm of the average value for all other categories of vehicles. Bharat State Emission Standards, shortly called as BSES, are emission standards instituted by the Government of India to regulate the output of all air pollutants from combustion ignition engines and spark ignition engines equipment, including motor vehicles. The standards and the timeline for implementation are set by the Central Pollution Control Board under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The standards based on European regulations were first introduced in 2000. Progressively, stringent norms have been rolled out since then. All new manufactured after the implementation of the norms have to be compliant with the regulations. Since October 2010, Bharat Stage 3rd norms have been enforced across the country. In 13 major cities, Bharat Stage 4 emissions norms have been in place since April 2010 and it has been enforced for entire country since April 2017. In 2016, the Indian government announced that the country would skip the BS5 norms altogether and adopt BS6 norms by 2020. In its recent judgment, the Supreme Court has banned the sale and registration of motor vehicles conforming to the emission standard Bharat Stage 4 in the entire country from 1st April 2020. Difference between Bharat Stage 4 and Bharat Stage 6. Both BS4 and BS6 are unit emission norms that set the most permissible levels for pollutants emitting from a automotive or a two-wheeler exhaust. Compared to the B4, BS6 emission standards are unit stricter, whereas makers use this variation to update their vehicles with new options and safety standards. The largest or the numerous modification comes within the type of stricter permissible emission norms. The below table indicates the modification within the permissible emission levels of B6 vehicles compared to BS4 vehicles. Two parameters, the fuel type and pollutant gases. The comparison between BS6 and BS4 has been shown for petroleum and diesel operated vehicles separately. For petroleum distillated vehicle, nitrogen oxide limit in the case of BS6 is 60 mg while it was 80 mg in BS4. Particulate matter limit was 4.5 mg per kilometer in BS6. In the case of diesel fuel vehicle, the nitrogen oxide limit is 80 mg in the case of BS6 standards, while it is 250 mg in the case of BS4 standards. Particulate matter limit is 4.5 mg per kilometer in the case of BS6 standards, while it was 25 mg in the case of BS4 standards. about the hydrocarbon plus nitrogen oxide limit, it is 170 milligram per kilometer in the case of BS6 standards, while it is 300 milligram it was in BS4 standards. The following table is showing Indian emission standards for four-wheeled vehicles. The standards India 2000, which was equivalent to Euro first stage, implemented in 2000. It was implemented nationwide. Bharat stage 2, equivalent to or in reference to Euro 2, is 2001, was implemented in NCR, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai. In 2003, it was NCR and 13 other cities. Bharat stage 3, in reference to Euro 3, was implemented in 2005 in NCR and 13 cities, and in 2000 it was implemented all nationwide. Bharat stage 4, with reference to Euro 4, was implemented in NCR and 13 major cities in 2010, while it was implemented or enforced from 2017 nationwide. Bharat stage 5, which was in reference to Euro 5, was skipped by Indian government due to lack of time. The Bharat stage 6, with reference to Euro 6, has been implemented in 2018 in Delhi, 2019 in NCR, and 2020 the whole nationwide. Here NCR is National Capital Region Delhi, and other 13 cities are also quoted as Bombay, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Surat, Kanpur, Lucknow, Sholapur, Jamshedpur, and Agra. The above standards apply to all new four-wheeled vehicles sold and registered in the respective regions. In addition, the National Auto Fuel Policy introduces certain emission requirements for interstate buses with routes originating or terminating in Delhi or the other 10 cities. Table 2, Indian emission standards for 2 and 3 wheeled vehicles. Bharat stage 2, with reference to Euro 2, implemented from 1st April 2000. Bharat stage 3, with reference to Euro 3, implemented on 1st April 2010. Bharat stage 4, with reference to Euro 4, implemented from 1st April 2017. Bharat stage 6, with reference to Euro 6, from April 2020, with the mandate proposed in order to comply with BS4 norms. Sec 2 and 3 wheelers manufacturers will have to fit an evaporative emission control unit, which should lower the amount of fuel that is evaporated when the motorcycle is parked. Table 3 shows emission standards for diesel truck and bus engine applicable to vehicle of GVW greater than 3500 kg, that is gram per kilowatt hour. Year 92 test basis was C and R49. The limit of CO was 17.3 to 32.6, while hydrocarbons from 2.7 to 3.7. In 1996, the limit of carbon monoxide was set to 11.20, while hydrocarbons to 2.4, nitrogen oxide 14.4. From 2000, which was with reference to Euro 1, the CO carbon monoxide limit was set to 4.5, hydrocarbon 1.1, and nitrogen oxide 8, and for the first time particulate matter was specified as 0.36. The Euro 2, Euro 3 and Euro 4 references were also adopted in years 2005, 2010 and 2010 respectively, and The values of carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon, nitrogen oxide and particulate matter has been displayed in the table. We can observe so that reaching up to the standard with reference to Euro 4, that is BS4, the CO value in the case of ESC test 1.5, hydrocarbon 0.46, nitrogen monoxide 3.5 and particulate matter reduced to 0.02. Light duty diesel vehicles, emission standards for light duty diesel vehicles GVW less than 3500 kg are summarized in table 4 below. It may be observed that it was in 1992 the carbon monoxide level was 13.3 to 13.6 and hydrocarbon was mentioned a limit of 2.7 to 3.7. It may be noted from the table that hydrocarbon limit was eliminated from 1996, while the hydrocarbon plus nitrogen oxide in combined was introduced from 1996 and nitrogen oxide separately also included from 2001 from BS1, that is in reference to Euro 1. Reaching up to Euro 3 implemented from 2010, we can observe that the limits of something like carbon monoxide is 0.64, while hydrocarbon plus nitrogen oxide is 0.056, nitrogen oxide is 0.5, while particulate matter 0.05. The test cycle has been the ECE plus EUDC for lower power vehicles with maximum speed limited to 90 km per hour. Before 2000, emissions were measured over an Indian test cycle. Engines for use in light vehicles can be also emission tested using an engine dynamometer. The emission standards for light duty diesel engine are we can see from the year 1992 to 2005, that is Euro 2, carbon monoxide was shifted from 14 to 4 in the case of Euro 2, and in comparison to 3.5 hydrocarbon in 92, the limit was set to 1.1 only in Euro 2, while nitrogen oxide, which was 18% in the case of 1992, was reduced to 7% only in the case of Euro 2, which was implemented from 2005, and particulate matter was only 0.15 in the case of Euro 2. Light duty petrol vehicles, four-wheeled vehicles, emission standards for petrol vehicles GVW less than 3,500, and the lowest limit in each range applies to passenger cars, that is GVW less than equal to 2005 kg up to 6 seats. You can observe the standards, emission standards for petrol vehicles. In this case, from year 1991 to 2003, that is up to Euro 3, the carbon monoxide value reduced to 2.3, hydrocarbon 0.2, no hydrocarbon and NOx combination was recommended, and nitrogen oxide was reduced to 0.15. In the year 2010, Euro 4, carbon monoxide 1, hydrocarbon only 0.1, and nitrogen oxide is only 0.08. Petrol vehicles must also meet an evaporative limit of 2 gram per test, effective from 2000. Emission standards for three-wheeled petrol vehicles. This showing from 1991, 96, 2000, 2005 that is BS2, 2010 that is BS3. It was reduced to a value for carbon monoxide as 1.25, hydrocarbon plus nitrogen oxide equal to 1.25 only. Table 8 indicates the emission standards for two-wheeled petrol vehicles from year 1991 to 2010, that is BS3 implementation. We can see that in 1991 the carbon monoxide value was 12 to 30%, while it reduced in BS3 case only 1%. And in fact hydrocarbon was discontinued from 1996 itself, while hydrocarbon and nitrogen oxide firstly given a limit of 3.6 in 1996 was reduced to only 1% in the case of BS3 implemented from 2010. Emission standards for 2 and 3 wheel diesel vehicles, we can see it for 2005 and 2010 implementation, that carbon monoxide reduced from 1 to 0.5, hydrocarbon plus nitrogen oxide reduced from 0.85 to 0.5, particulate matters reduced 50%, means 0.1 to reduced to 0.05 only. Regarding carbon dioxide emission, India auto sector accounting for about 18% of the total carbon dioxide emission in the country. Relative carbon dioxide emissions from transport have risen rapidly in recent years, but like the European standards, currently there are no standards for CO2 emission limits for pollution from vehicles. Technology changes. In the case of petrol engine, as per Bharat Stage 6 norms, the emission of carbon monoxide is to be reduced by 30% and nitrogen oxide by 80%. The BS6 norms also sets limit for hydrocarbon and particulate emissions which were not specified in earlier norms. To meet the emission requirements of Bharat Stage 6, the carburetors in petrol engines need to be replaced by the programmed fuel injectors. To further reduce tailpipe emissions, the exhaust system would be fitted with three-way catalytic converters. The norms also mandates on-board diagnostic system for all BS6 compliant vehicles. Technology changes in diesel engine. As per the Bharat Stage 6 norms, the nitrogen oxide emissions from a diesel engines are to be reduced by 70% and particulate by 80%. To achieve this, engine need to be equipped with Euro 6 compliant technologies. The major technical changes associated with this are: number 1, fitted diesel pre-filters in exhaust system. Number 2, using selective catalytic reduction or exhaust gas recirculation techniques to reduce nitrogen oxide in emissions. Thirdly, an on-board diagnostic system required to monitor the malfunctioning of parts related to emissions. Pollution under control, which is commonly called as PUC certificate. Pollution under control certificate is an approval that emission from vehicle is under control and as per the pollution norms. It is an official document issued by the government after the thorough verification of the vehicle's emission levels. After the expiry of period of 1 year from the date on which the motor vehicle was first registered, every such vehicle shall carry a valid pollution under control certificate issued by an agency authorized for the purpose by the state government. The validity of the certificate shall be for 6 months. The certificate shall always be carried in the vehicle and produced on demand by authorized officers. The content of the PUC certificate. The PUC certificate for car or bike will have information like the serial number of the PUC certificate. It helps to monitor when was the last test taken by your vehicle, the registration number of the vehicle, the date of the PUC test, the validity date of the PUC test, the PUC test reading, and many other general information like name of the vehicle owner and mobile number the vehicle owner. If the vehicle is new, what will the PUC test procedure is? The vehicle is new, then the motor dealer will arrange for the PUC certificate. For the renewal, one will have to take the vehicle to any authorized petrol pump or authorized agency. They may scan the ejection pipe, or commonly called as exhaust of silencer, to check for the emission rate. The certificate is issued after payment on the prescribed fees. A sample of PUC certificate issued by Government of Rajasthan has been displayed, where we can see the number plate. The registration number is also indicated as if taken a photo, and all emission standards and general information have been given. Penalties for not obtaining a PUC certificate. Just like one is penalized for not carrying a motor insurance policy, one will have to pay a fine for not carrying a PUC certificate, and if it is done so, then under section 190 number 2 of the Motor Vehicle Act, the person will be liable for prosecution. Other than this, a fine prescribed under rules will be charged for the first time offence. The fine is double if the act is repeated. Cost and validity of PUC certificate. The validity of the PUC certificate of the new car is a 1 year. The certificate will be renewed at regular intervals. The validity of the renewed certificate is 6 months for both cars and bikes. In case the reading is adverse, and validity of the certificate will depend on the reading. The cost of obtaining pollution under control certificate varies from rupees 60 to rupees 100. The cost also depends on the fuel type, and it is revised from time to time by the government. Thank you.